What has been going on with Lake Stevens home prices? The second quarter is done, and we are going to review it together. We're going to talk about where the economy is going, what's happening with interest rates, what's happening with Lake Stevens, and what you should know if you're a buyer, seller, or investor. Why should you listen to me? I'm Anton Stetner. I've been licensed here since 2003. I've sold thousands of homes here in the local area. I own 2 brokerages, and I've been digging through this specific data. I love sharing this, and if you guys have any questions about your Lake Stevens property or about a property you want to buy or an investment, drop it in the chat below or reach out to us. Happy to answer those specific questions. The median price in Lake Stevens last month was basically $750,000, 749,999, up 3.1% month on month. And the average price last month was $827,171, up 6.5%. Now, if you notice when you're looking at the monthly data, it's very jagged. That's because this is all of the data. If we look at it on a rolling 12, it starts to smooth the data out. So if we look at the average, you can see the average was 794 on a rolling 12, and the median is 730 on a rolling 12, trending slightly down on the rolling 12 there. I think one of the things that's happening there specifically is you've seen some of that upper end new construction in Lake Stevens really smash itself into a ceiling, and it's sitting kind of stagnant and been sliding in a slight downward direction. I think this is what you're seeing. You're also seeing some of those upper end properties not specifically sell that are in the resale market. So new listings last month in Lake Stevens was up 31.7% with 108 of them. Homes for sale was up 44.4%. So this is a pretty large jump in the amount of homes for sale. So there is more competition for less buyers. As we showed earlier, with the 10-year Treasury being higher, these higher interest rates are weighing down on the number of sales, so the active inventory is currently growing. This is not causing the market to crash. This is causing the market to return to a more normal market, a pre-COVID market, which I'll show you more here in just a second. Pending sales down 13.6%. The number of closed sales up just slightly. So with pendings being down and closed being up, the pending is a future indicator of close. So the market would be in the process of starting to slow down, but the average days on market in Lake Stevens is still only 21 days. Well, what's happening to the supply? There we see it in the supply. You can see the supply was roughly towards the latter part of the year in 2022, just a little over 2 months, and it was basically about a month and a half. And then in 2024, we were just a little over 2 months, and then now months of supply is sitting at 3.5. So this is the market slowing down, but it's still a seller's market. A seller's market is defined as below 5 months worth of inventory is a seller's market. Around 6 months, aka a neutral market. Above 6 months, it's a buyer's market. But when the market's not just red hot and everything flying off the shelves, the inexperienced real estate brokers who don't dig through this data and the nervous sellers, they get all freaked out because the market is just simply returning more to normal. I want to show you this on a longer time horizon because you can see this. When I kick this out to max years, you can see that during the great financial crisis in 2008, Lake Stevens had freaking 13 months worth of inventory. And then as the market basically hit bottom in 2012, we were at about 4.5 months there starting the year. We peaked at 5.1 and we finished 2012 at 3.4. So at 3.4, we're back in line with, well, no, we are above in Lake Stevens. 2019, 2017, and kind of back in line with 2015, 14, and 13. So there's definitely more supply coming. I will tell you, if the supply continues to increase like this, which it most likely won't, I'll get to that in a second, this could lead to price compression. We are not seeing that yet in the data, but if this was to continue, well, why, Anton, is this not going to continue in Lake Stevens? The answer to that is actually kind of simple, and you can see it. I'm going to drop this back to 3 years. I'm going to throw it back up on screen for you. Is every year the market peaks, see in July, you can see us peaking in summer and in third quarter. You can see inventory peaking here in third quarter. You can see inventory peaked in 24 by June. So generally speaking, second quarter, third quarter inventory starts to peak and then it declines through the winter. Okay, so there's usually less homes on the market in the winter. This totally makes sense. In our areas, the winter comes around, the sky is gray, there's rain falling out of the sky, less people want to buy and sell real estate. Let's look at the percent of original list price, because the percent of original list price is a good indication of the market. The historical average for Snohomish County as a whole is around 98. As it gets above 98, there still is some bidding wars. So there are still some bidding wars happening in Lake Stevens. What this tells you is the best properties that are properly positioned inside the market, that are priced correctly, not wish pricing, not ahead of the market, are selling quickly, and some of them are still selling over list price with bidding wars attached to them. The next one I always like to look at is the price per square foot metric. You can see it was $388 a square foot. A good way to look for deals on the market is basically go resort by high days on market and look for low price per square foot. And those properties are now suspects. They might be deals. If something is at a lower price per square foot, it probably needs a little bit of love in order to make it happen, or it's just a really big property. Let's look at shows to pending. The average property in Lake Stevens last month took 11 showings before it went pending, aka received an offer they accepted, but the average property only received 4.4 showings. So what this is telling you is that if your property is in great condition, if it's positioned correctly inside of the market, if it's being marketed correctly and you're not receiving enough showings, it's actually the price that is holding it back. And I know sellers don't like to hear that. But one thing we've seen here as real estate, the market's been just a little bit slower this year, is we have sellers with wish pricing and we have agents putting pricing on that is too high relative to the market. So you're seeing them having to make more price corrections right now than we've seen previously in order to get the property sold. Here's another way of looking at the same set of data on a rolling 12, but I do like really looking at the year-to-date numbers because I think the year-to-date numbers show a good comparison. The median sales price is showing down 4.4% year-to-date, and the average sales price in Lake Stevens is up only 1.5%. What this is telling me specifically is that there are pockets of Lake Stevens where you're seeing some downward compression on pricing, and I believe this is happening in the new construction and in the upper end of the market. I believe that as rates come down, what you're going to see is you're going to see an increase in activity, and it's just simple logic. As rates come down, it's more affordable for buyers. More buyers want to buy homes. It takes less of their income. So if you're a buyer that wants to purchase in Lake Stevens right now, this is a time for you to be getting into the market and making those offers that might need some closing costs or things like that. For investors, I told you we're almost to the end of deal season. I keep repeating this, but as rates come down, deal season will go away and you will see more investors enter the market as more certainty. I'm a hardcore investor, so less certainty, more market for me and my homies and the investors who invest like me. If you're a seller, you need to genuinely dig into the market to figure out exactly where you're at in Lake Stevens and if it makes sense today or if you need to maybe wait for the spring. I hate to even say that, but based on these numbers and the price of your property in Lake Stevens, it's going to depend on whether right now is the right time to list for you. And so if you have specific questions, just drop them in the comments below. Send us a message. We're happy to chat with you about your Lake Stevens property and then how it's sitting inside the market. But overall, I would say the market in Lake Stevens is still hot. It's still good. It's just not white hot, COVID hot. And we make the mistake of assuming that just because something was a certain way for a period of time, that it's going to always be that way. And then sellers, don't be antsy if it takes a month to sell your home. And agents, this is just the market more returning to a normal market. Nothing to be afraid of. The sky is not falling. Don't listen to the doom and gloom. What I want you to realize is that these real estate statistics are for the whole city. So for your situation specifically, or your property specifically, we'd have to dig into the actual neighborhood, into what's happening in the market and that property. If you have questions about any property specifically, feel free to give us a call, hit us up at resg.com, drop any questions there down in the comments. Subscribe if you live here in the local area and you want to see more content about real estate investing, land development, the market, and just how to make more money in real estate. I'm Anton Stetner. Thanks for watching.